This is our big relief for Rahul Gandhi also in the Modi Surname Defamation case. He has got relief from Supreme Court. The decision has been stayed. Joining me on the broadcast is my colleague Brijesh Pandey and Kartikeya Sharma. Brijesh, let me begin with you first. How do you see it? Finally, a relief at the end of the tunnel.
Well, absolutely, and this was along the expected lines, because many believed that the order which was given by the lower court and also by the Gujarat High Court didn't had factored in or given details about what is the reason behind the lower court giving maximum 2-year punishment.
That was one of the point of contention.
That was one of the point of contention, right. Because a day less punishment, as was articulated by Justice Gowai, was that if he had been given a punishment of 1 year and 364 days, Pankaj, there would have been no conviction. He would have not been prosecuted under the Representation Act. And the reason, that is the reason why the judge asked, what is the reason behind this? And then judge heard both sides. The counsel for Rahul Gandhi, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and noted lawyer Abhishek Manu Singhvi went on to tell the court that how this is, the person who has filed the case, Purnesh Modi, his surname is not Modi. He has changed it to Modi, and how, these cases, the statement are not done. How is this case violates. To which Justice Gowai also made a very important point, which was also later put in the order, which was that how can you allow the people who elected Rahul Gandhi or people who elected their representative be unrepresented during the course of the day. Right. So I think these are very important significance of the judgment which has been passed on by the Apex Court, and Rahul Gandhi, his conviction has been stayed. It's a very, very important political development, Pankaj.
Right. Kartikeya, where do we go from here? Because obviously we have seen in the political echelons, obviously he was almost, if I am not wrong, a written off guy, at least till 2024. What changes after this verdict?
You see, there are couple of things which are very, very important in this case, and let me read them out for you. Because when we talk about Rahul Gandhi, what is Supreme Court saying? Supreme Court ने कहा कि निचली अदालत को अधिकतम 2 साल की सजा देने की वजह अपने आदेश में बताने चाहिए थे. So the court is arguing that you need to give the reason why you are giving the maximum punishment first. Then secondly, court is saying that what Rahul Gandhi said was in bad taste. We are not going to deny that. But court is also saying that when you High Court or the trial court, when you go in for a maximum punishment, then you have to consider a lot of things. On what ground you give maximum punishment, what is the repercussion of the maximum punishment, and most important of all, why haven't you explained in your order as to why did you go for that?
One more line which was very important, which was added there, Kartikeya, is that other than mentioning the Supreme Court displeasure, the trial court order which granted the maximum possible punishment under that law did not reason out the order. They like, if you reason out an order, if there's an order against me, they'll say that if we are finding Brijesh Pandey guilty of XYZ, you will detail how do we find you guilty under XYZ. And this was not the case. The displeasure of the Supreme Court in one of the cases was mentioned in that order. But other than that, there was no reasoning. There was no reasoned order provided by the Apex Court.
Actually, you're right, Brijesh, and Justice Gowai also pointed this out when Jethmalani tried to justify that why maximum sentence was given, but it looks like the court was not impressed with the answer when it said that the intent was to malign the whole Modi, clan itself. There was a time in the court, Brijesh, when the judge had to mention to both Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani and to Abhishek Manu Singhvi that don't make this issue political. When a particular case came up that this Purnesh Modi, only BJP कार्यकर्ता जो मोदी जिनका सरनेम है उन्हीं को बुरा लगा, बाकी 13 करोड़ को नहीं लगा.
See, the point is that the court wanted this arguments to be restricted only to the legal side of the case and not make any political statements, because both of them are Rajya Sabha MPs.
Can I stop you for a minute? Can you just read out the case, so that we can have that conversation, the important part of the order? The order says no specific reason has been granted by trial court. Let me tell this to our friends
something which we have been,
no specific reason has been granted by trial judge to impose maximum sentence apart from a comment by this court. I am reading this verbatim for for our viewers. This is verbatim on Rahul Gandhi. It says, had the sentence been even a day lesser, the provision pertaining to disqualification would not have applied. Exactly. See, these are the words of the court. So, I'm telling this to our viewers that this is what the court has said. Not me, not Brijesh, not Pankaj, the court order. says that the trial judge was at least expected to give reasons for imposing maximum sentence for not cognizable offence. Though the appellate court and high court have spent voluminous pages in denying stay on conviction, these aspects have not been gone into, which means that you have not gone into the reasons. However, public person is expected to exercise a degree of caution. Then Gawai ji says, taking into consideration these, and that no reason has been given by trial judge for imposing maximum sentence, order of conviction needs to be stayed pending final adjudication. On which Abhishek Manu Singhvi, the lawyer, says, thank you for an expeditious disposal. Only one word may be added, alleged remarks, because we are challenging the remarks themselves. Gawai adds alleged remarks. And SC stays Rahul Gandhi's case. So, I'm just telling you the chronology. This is the chronology as to what the order said. There are multiple other utterances which I will just read it out for you.
Right.
These are three most important things. These are three most important things which the judge said in the Supreme Court. First, no doubt that utterance taught in good taste, person in public life expected to exercise caution while making public speeches, as observed by this court while accepting his affidavit in contempt petition, he ought to have been more careful. Correct? Gawai. Maybe if these observations came before petitioners made these utterances, he would have been more careful before making such remarks which are alleged to be defamatory. Ramifications are wide. Not only petitioners' right to continue in public life affected, but also that of electorate who have elected him. Now, I would like to just ask you one thing. This is, I know I'm not trying to compare apples and peaches, Brajesh. If you recall, Indira Gandhi also got disqualified. People also get disqualified on corruption cases. So, Brajesh, is the judge trying to draw a difference between the cases of malpractice and corruption and cases of defamatory speech?
No. What the judge is trying to do is, Karthikeya, as we have been discussing all these points, just now. What the judge is saying is that when you are awarding a maximum punishment, which is there, this is a bailable offence.
Correct.
This is a non-compoundable offence. So it's not like as if you are trying somebody for murder. The fact is that if you are giving him a maximum 2-year sentence, as I just told Pankaj, before that, had it been 1 year and 364 days, the Representation of People Act could not be done on him. And the lower court only relied on one line, which is the displeasure of the Supreme Court and not something else. So that is the reason why the judge said that if you are allotting somebody a maximum sentence which the particular provision extracts, you have to give a detailed reasoning order. There was no order. And everybody knew, we have discussed the case because there are several aspects of the case which also needs to be
I'm disturbing both of you. I'm getting more excited than
well, there are so many layers to this.
What happens? Tell me one thing. Will Rahul Gandhi get to speak on the no confidence day, Brajesh? Because
remember one thing.
Let me complete my question. Because when the Faisal's case came up, the judgment of the High Court and the notification of the Lok Sabha, I think there was a difference of.
No. The important thing which you have to remember here right now is, Karthikeya, that the Lakshadweep MP case, which you are, if you are referring to that particular case, the court had set aside the order. They stayed the conviction. But the Lok Sabha Secretariat didn't take any action. So what he had to do was he had to approach the apex court for getting him reinstated and for asking them to be tried under contempt of court. When the case got listed in the Supreme Court, that very day, he was informed that he has been reinstated.
So Rahul Gandhi gets reinstated today?
No, we don't know for sure. I think the judgment, Karthikeya, doesn't work like that. Please try to understand it doesn't work like that. A signed copy, an official copy of the Supreme Court order, what you have read is for you to discuss right now.
Maybe Monday?
No. You don't know for sure. It will go to the Lok Sabha Supreme Court. If you know for sure that it will get delivered today, I don't know. But until unless it goes there.
We have a soundbite of a lawyer also coming. Let's listen to that first.
उसमें बोध भी है, फाइन प्लस सेंटेंस, तो उन्होंने वो क्यों किया है? और उन्हें सारे आर्गुमेंट सुनने के बाद हमारे अभिषेक मनु सिंघवी का आर्गुमेंट आज महेश जेठमलानी के, महेश जेठमलानी ने कहा था कि राहुल गांधी का कोई हार्म करने का इंटेंशन नहीं था किसी मोदी फैमिली को, और पुनोज मोदी ने जो मैटर डाला है वो खुद मोदी नहीं है बल्कि एक गुटका परिवार से आते हैं, जो कि ट्रायल कोर्ट में ये बात उन्होंने एडमिट करी है। उन्होंने सारा पढ़ के सुनाया कि पैरा नंबर ये वॉल्यूम इस पे यहाँ पर इन्होंने अपने आप को ये एडमिट किया है। एक तो ये मोदी परिवार से नहीं आते, ये बनता नहीं है केस। सेकंड, ये मैक्सिमम सेंटेंस हुआ है ट्रायल कोर्ट से, हाई कोर्ट से, यहाँ पर स्टे हो गया है। अपील में दोबारा से जो आगे चल के जो आर्गुमेंट होगा, चलेगा केस, फिलहाल अभी स्टे कर दिया गया है और राहुल गांधी की सदस्यता बहाल कर दी गई है। अब वो पार्लियामेंट में देखे जाएंगे।
कानूनी विकल्प सारे खत्म हो गए सर अब?
नहीं, अभी तो ट्रायल होगा अपील के चलेगा। फिलहाल हाई कोर्ट से उन्होंने सेंटेंस को स्टे कर दिया है।
अब राहुल गांधी की संसद सदस्यता
बहाल हो गई है, ऑर्डर हो गया, सुप्रीम ऑर्डर कर दिया, स्टे दे दिया है।
तो अब जो औपचारिक आदेश आता है लोकसभा की ओर से, हाँ, तो वो आदेश कब तक आ जाना चाहिए? क्योंकि इस पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट का पहले का आदेश है लक्षद्वीप के जो सांसद थे फैसल साहब, उनके मामले में
इमीडिएट होगा। बिल्कुल इसी मानसून सत्र में होगा, बिल्कुल होगा।
मानसून सत्र में अब राहुल गांधी जाएंगे संसद?
बिल्कुल जाएंगे, आपको देखे जाएंगे, इसी सत्र में देखे जाएंगे। जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्टे दे दिया तो राहुल गांधी बिल्कुल देखे जाएंगे।
तनवीर भाई आइए। मैं आपसे बात करना चाहूंगा तनवीर भाई, मेरे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए राहुल गांधी के वकील साथ में हैं। मेरे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए राहुल गांधी सर, मैं ये सबसे पहले जानना चाहूंगा कि आज
Right, so there we heard it. The lawyers obviously bringing it to the attention of the public. What does it mean, Brijesh? What he says that after this order by monsoon session, Rahul Gandhi would be reinstated.
Well, I think, the important point here to remember, Pankaj, is that the order, the notified order, because, it is the government to government work, a notified copy of the order will be submitted to the Lok Sabha Secretariat. And then the Lok Sabha Secretariat will take a decision based on that. I think it should be done as soon as possible. But we don't know for sure, whether, as Karthikeya was mentioning, whether Rahul Gandhi will be there in the lower court, I mean, in the Lok Sabha during this no confidence motion. That we don't know for sure. But yes, today, I think by the end of the day, the signed copy of the order will be submitted, or on Monday morning, the signed copy of the order, the official copy of the order will be submitted to Lok Sabha Secretariat, and then Lok Sabha Secretariat will take time. But there has been a very interesting case, as we had just discussed, the case of an MP from Lakshadweep, where there was a stay on his conviction, but it had been 3-4 months, but no decision was taken. So the day he approached the apex court, that very day his tenure as a Lok Sabha MP was reinstated by the Secretariat. So I think by the end of the day or by Monday morning, that will be conveyed to Lok Sabha Secretariat. And going by the fact that he's a very important political figure, he will be reinstated ASAP.
Right. So that's what basically it appears as of now, that the decks have been cleared for Rahul Gandhi's reinstatement, but then there are procedures to it, and obviously Supreme Court staying the order of
Pankaj,
Gujarat
I just
High Court.
can interfere. The interesting thing is that the Congress party has tweeted a photograph of Rahul Gandhi with a hand on his heart and wearing the same color t-shirt, as you can see on the screen, saying that ye nafrat ke khilaf mohabbat ki jeet hai, satyamev jayate, jai hind. So there's relief in the Congress camp, and there is exultation in the Congress camp as well.
Okay,
right.
Now for our viewers, the important story of the day is that Rahul Gandhi has been granted relief by the Supreme Court of India. Today, when Rahul Gandhi was given relief, the judge made a very important observation. The observation of the judge was, why didn't the lower courts or the High Court give reasons for the maximum punishment? One. And for this analysis, we have our input editor Brijesh Pandey, our news editor Pankaj Mishra. We will tell you all the bites, play them out for you, but the mood thing is that it turns the political play. You must have seen the breaking news. It's all over the place. You must have consumed it. But what impact will it have? What impact will it have next week? The clarity of the matter will come, because this is like a vindication for Rahul Gandhi. Politically, this story is going to play out in a different way at all, in every part of the way. The judicial part is over, the exuberance is over, the tweets are out, people are happy about it. But Brijesh, take me through the political impact of the most significant story of the day today.
Well, I think what will happen now is that the Congress will be kind of a turbocharged, if I may say. They'll be a lot more aggressive, and they will make a grand spectacle of Rahul Gandhi coming to the Parliament, because they have picked up Kadils post INDIA second meeting and post the result of Bangalore election and Karnataka election. All the Congress has been pretty buoyant and very aggressive. I think the aggressive stand which the Congress party has taken till now will be furthered when Rahul Gandhi go back to Lok Sabha. That is for 100% sure. Already, we have been given informations that many Congress wings and all are going to celebrate. They will celebrate the Supreme Court judgment, as you can see that ye nafrat ke khilaf mohabbat ki jeet hai and all kind of thing. But I think politically the Congress will definitely try to utilize this opposition to opportunity to hit out at the BJP by calling this entire the legal thing which has gone on as saying that it has been orchestrated by the BJP to nail the MP. But now the Congress would be on a forefront. The Congress will be a lot more aggressive, Kartikeya, in the Lok Sabha.
Pankaj, were you surprised when this news break during the day? Were you surprised that Rahul Gandhi would be given the relief, or were you able to make out that the relief would come by the obiter dictas we were percolating out from the judge?
Well, Kartikeya, if you ask me personally, I think Rahul Gandhi found himself twice unlucky in Gujarat as far as his appeals were concerned. But this time around in Supreme Court, the way both Mahesh Jethmalani and Abhishek Manu Singhvi were having a go at each other, going through the nuances, and what the judge, Justice Gawai, picked up was actually, the fine print of the verdict that had come from the Gujarat High Court. And this time around, without taking much cognizance and giving the equal rap to both the sides, the judge picked up a very salient factor about the number of days, and that is something which I believe sets the Supreme Court, the apex body in the legal judicial system in the country, apart. And yes, I mean, for me, if you ask me, well, more than a surprise, I think it's a relief, obviously, for many faces in the polity itself, because Rahul Gandhi being sidelined just before 2024 was something, many would say as an interesting cricket match कि अगर इंडिया पाकिस्तान का मैच हो रहा है, अगर उसमें सचिन या धोनी नहीं खेल रहे होते थे तो लगता था आधी टीम खेल रही है. अब अगर कांटे की टक्कर है आने वाले समय में 2024 में इंडिया और बाकी पक्षों के खिलाफ, then I believe then it's a fair play and the team is equal.
But I have a slightly different take on this, Kartikeya, because majority of the time when we hear the oral observations of the court, in the oral observations, they are very aggressive. They say a lot of things, which immediately make for splash on TV channels and, newspapers and websites and all over. The judge said this and it ripped apart and all. Like hundreds of cases I can give you example, not one, hundreds. And then when the order comes, there's all of a sudden shock and gloom. I say like, oh my God, I mean, it's absolute opposite to what they say. And the second thing is, just one more line. The second thing is, I honestly feel that there were a lot many in the Congress party who would be happy, had Rahul Gandhi not been in contention for running in Lok Sabha, for the simple reason because then it would have given the Congress a selling point that listen, the Gandhis are not hankering after power, we just want the opposition together and take on Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
When Ashok Bagadia broke the news in afternoon,
right?
So I was in a meeting with Hemant ji and Rakesh ji. So when Ashok wrote the relief part, so I immediately blurted out in the meeting because my part of telling the day plan was over. So I said, no, it has been broken. So I was asked, where has it been broken? Because there are multiple WhatsApp groups. So then I realized maybe I have jumped the gun. But then our legal affairs editor, Ashok Bagadia, had actually broken the news. He's the first person to have got it in afternoon that the Rahul Gandhi is getting a stay. But the whole issue was I was the one who spoke first in the meeting, and then other WhatsApp.
So you broke the news.
I broke the news to the meeting.
Right.
But the point is that other WhatsApp groups, the order was being written. So that was the 5 or 6 minutes of acute tension which I underwent. I was thinking at that point of time, did I jump the gun? Did I say wrong things in front of 20 other editors, my colleagues and 3 of my seniors? But nonetheless, it happens in breaking news. Most of us go through these pangs. But I would say that there is a procedure also. And this procedure will be there is a procedure. It entirely depends on the battery because, there's a word in Hindi called prativedan. All these things will come into effect. Right. But Brijesh, tell me one thing. Do we expect Rahul Gandhi to speak on 11th?
See, Karthikeya,
it's just a conjunctural question you would say.
No, I'm not saying that. You know, because it all depends on how quickly that order reaches the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Because Rahul Gandhi is not a normal MP, we all know that. And I don't think that the Lok Sabha Secretariat will take its time, to analyze and formalize or reinstate Rahul Gandhi as a member of parliament from Wayanad. So I think, by Monday, the order should come from the Lok Sabha Secretariat, depending on when the official authenticated order of the Supreme Court judgment reaches the Lok Sabha Secretariat. But if he joins on, if he's reinstated on Monday, then I can say this for sure that the Congress will be pretty much aggressive, in taking on the BJP.
Right. And to discuss the matter further, we have Ashish Pandey, Supreme Court advocate. Ashish, thank you so much for speaking to us. Obviously, there are days and then there are days. How do you see this development? Finally, Supreme Court, कहते हैं अक्सर देर है अंधेर नहीं, क्या यही थियरी लागू होगी इस बार राहुल गांधी के इस केस पर?
We discussed same thing on this platform only, and I said I won't be surprised if Mr. Gandhi gets relief from the Honorable Supreme Court. Because you see, once the appeal has been admitted on merits, and please keep in mind that the appeal against conviction is still pending before the concerned court. Once the appeal is admitted on merit, there is no point keeping that sword hanging on the neck of Mr. Gandhi, and it's very normal for any court to grant a stay on conviction. So I was expecting that the order will come from the concerned High Court itself, but somehow for various reasons we didn't see that, and finally the day is there. We are seeing what was expected.
I think when you say it is expected, I think the judicial play is over, and I think BJP is also losing its handle on this defamation issue. There is a politics around defamation, that Rahul Gandhi is a careless guy, he makes careless statements, it doesn't make a thing. Now that handle is gone. So I think for Rahul Gandhi, it's not a relief in context of just representation. It is a relief in context of the charge which were there on his character. कि कुछ भी बात बोल देते हैं, कभी भी बोल देते हैं, उनकी बात के मायना क्या है, सीरियसली मत लो।
लोग कह रहे हैं कि संसद में मनोरंजन होता था, मतलब ये भी कहा जा रहा है, तो fine. I mean, Brijesh, if we have to, look at it from that point of view, obviously the return of Rahul Gandhi, if you may put it that way, how significant do you believe? Because especially Rahul Gandhi, the time he was, expelled from the Lok Sabha, that was the time when this attack on the business houses of Adani was pretty much there, and Rahul Gandhi was mentioning it time and again. So how does it change?
Well, I think, I will, if I am a Congress person or if I am a political analyst, I would view this victory as a series of victories which the Congress have been encountering for a while now. And this would be a boost in the step of a common Congress workers, because the perception which they were telling was, or they were trying to sell to their cadre was that how it is the Modi government which is vindicating against them, going after them. It is a BJP worker who has filed the case. And very interestingly, Pankaj and Karthikeya, if you remember, one of the interesting aspects of the case right from the word go was, when there was a different judge at the lower court, they had virtually bailed themselves out. And the case was again brought into contention when a new judge had come, and this order was passed. So I think for the Congress party, it's a big day. They will celebrate, savor the victory, and I think the Congress was going to be lot more aggressive from Monday onwards if Rahul Gandhi is reinstated by then in the Lok Sabha.
Right, Ashish, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Ashish, tell me one thing. Do you think that the courts, the lower courts, it just reinforces this. It reinforces this view that they function very differently when it comes to cases. They take the maximum position, and the moderation has to be done in the highest apex court.
From legal point of view, I think I'll refrain from any comment against the court and its functioning.
No, this is not. I did not say court. I did not say high court. I say what the question was. This perception that the moderation is only.
Or rather, let me simplify it for you. Let me say it. That how do you react to the Supreme Court observation when they said that the lower court has not reasoned its order while awarding the maximum sentence possible under that section?
You see, what happens in such matters usually, there is obiter dicta and ratio decided. The effective order which has come from the Supreme Court is that the conviction has been suspended. There is a stay on the conviction, and by implication, Parliament's membership of Mr. Gandhi has been restored. But as far as those observations are concerned, these observations, there is a line in the order. I haven't gone through the order, but usually there is a line in such orders that any observation from the Supreme Court will not have any merit as far as the original appeal, which is still pending, is concerned. So we will have to see if there is any line to that effect, and if that line is not there, that itself casts a doubt that how trial court was functioning. Because usually this is a criminal defamation case, and if I am not wrong, rarely there have been any instance where maximum punishment has been given in a criminal defamation case. And as the court observed that if the sentence would have been lesser for even a single day, the disqualification might not have been applicable. So we will have to see how things proceed as far as the trial court is concerned. But I believe if that line is
there
not
is one
there,
more
that
question,
will have
before you
some
came,
sort of bearing as far as the original appeal is concerned.
there's a question. Please try to answer this for our viewers. Disqualification of public representative is not new in India, correct? So when the honorable judge said that you have to also take into account the representation, people, Indira Gandhi got disqualified. People get disqualified on corruption cases. This was a defamation case. Was the honorable judge trying to draw a difference between the cases of defamation, corruption and malpractices when he said, what about the representation of people? Because representation of people is supreme, it's sacred in democracy. So I just want to know from a lawyer's perspective, what is the difference that judge was trying to draw?
I would say I agree to this observation that when we are dealing with such cases in respect of public representative, especially those who are holding very high political seats, I would say, then obviously vis-a-vis this situation, we have to consider they have a fundamental right to speak, not only on behalf of them, but on behalf of the people they are representing. So in such cases, obviously the court should have a moderate view as far as up to what extent such punishments can be imposed, which will effect of such punishments is that the original representation is kind of challenged. Because you see, when Mr. Gandhi spoke about that particular sentence which was discussed by Mr. Gandhi, he was speaking in the capacity of a public representative. So how to balance this thing with his right to speak on behalf of his people, these things have to be very balanced, and I believe honorable judges were talking about these things.
Okay. Apart from this legal issue, what sort of response should we expect from Bharatiya Janata Party? I know, this is,
but if you don't,
it's $1 million question.
No. I think what the BJP will try to do.
I'm asking this in long run, not a short run. Obviously, not the short run
that,
question.
I think Congress is getting impatient to give a sound bite. We should listen to that also.
No.
Yes.
My question to you, Brijesh, is, bites come and go. What would be the long-term strategy?
See, the BJP feels that that they have already put Rahul Gandhi through the grind of the law, and they will use this. As we had discussed that day, if you remember, when the lower court has sentenced them, and I had said that that they will hit the ground running by using the insult to Modi as an insult to the OBC caste. And within 45 minutes we heard a BJP press conference in which they went hammer and tong talking about how this is not an insult to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, this is an insult to the entire OBC community. The BJP is going to continue with that line. They will highlight as much as possible that the way he has spoken about, the way he has said that that sare chor Modi kyun hote hain, that line, they are going to exploit it, A, politically, B, they are going to keep their narration focused around the caste line, because that is something which is going to pay them a rich political dividend. Karthikeya.
Apart from apart from rich political dividends, I would say that Rahul Gandhi also stands vindicated in many other ways, because Rahul Gandhi's side of the story in a narrative came across as the guy is not serious. Guy says anything just because he comes from a powerful political family, he gets away. Today is the time to put Rahul Gandhi's side of story. There has been time where the side of the BJP story was given, that आप कैसे प्रधानमंत्री के बारे में बोल सकते हैं. No one should have the right to abuse the Prime Minister, but you have the right to criticize the Prime Minister. And we draw that line on News9 Live. But the point is, what do you do with tanj? What do you do with humor? If you look at American and the French politics, if you look at the UK politics and the way people charge at each other, I am 100% sure people are going to have multiple heart attacks, and there would have been 5,000 cases in the court.
But Karthikeya, there are two angles to it. First angle is that what you're talking about, the image of Rahul Gandhi. I think the image of Rahul Gandhi, Pankaj and Karthikeya, underwent a lot of resurrection and change. Post Bharat Jodo Yatra. Bharat Jodo Yatra presented Rahul Gandhi as a serious figure, as a serious politician, because he specifically fought at two aspects, two charges which was hurled at him maximum. A, he is not serious and consistent. B, he makes a lot of irresponsible statement, and there is no connect in the story. Now what has happened is that he got rid of both the charges, by making sure that he's there walking thousands of kilometers, talking to people, and staying the course. His staying the course helped in change of the narrative. The second thing is that but Karthikeya, still I believe that and I'm not taking anybody's side and all, but I still believe that while you have the right to criticize anybody as much as you can, there is a line of civility, there is a border line of civility which you have to follow, and there is not much you can do about it. You should follow. If you are a public representative, you have to lead by example. Though awarding of 2 years on this was definitely overstretch.
Apart from that, I would say that this case is important in many other ways. This case is important, one, for one simple reason, that this was about a person who was being projected to take over the Prime Minister. One. Secondly, we have to understand, we can accuse Congress party of dynasticism, but every political party in India has dynasties. So that had become a very strong platform for BJP to attack Congress party. So what is happening in the way is that Rahul Gandhi, by the intervention of the court, has got another lease of life. I completely agree with Brijesh. I covered Bharat Jodo Yatra in Ernakulam. I spent 7 days. A part of it was in Kerala, and I could see the change. In fact, I was the I was the one who couldn't believe it. He was the one who saw the early green leaves. I was skeptical of it. He was hopeful of it, and it reinvented him. Now, I'm not saying that this completely reinvents him, but this gives him some armor. This gives him some political armor.
It does. The 2 points that Brijesh mentioned, and the third one is the dynasty politics. Do you believe that BJP is reaching the end of this rope now? Because the third one being addition with this Supreme Court verdict, that whatever he says, BJP cannot just put it under the rug, saying कि वो कुछ भी कहते हैं. So yes, I mean, as far as his image is concerned, certainly starting from, as you mentioned, from Bharat Jodo Yatra to the vindication now, I think the image changeover is there definitely. How it uses for the India bloc, that is Brijesh, something that we are looking at now.
Pankaj, one more thing, one thing which I would like to talk about this dynasty thing is that that in politics, one thing is very important, that how you create a narrative and how you run away with a narrative. The BJP created that narrative, dynasty narrative, and they ran away with the narrative, and the reason why they did was that there could be dynasty in the family, but the top post was not fit for
that's
that.
BJP's.
That's how it is for the BJP.
Yes.
And that is the reason, that is the reason why BJP was able to run away with the narrative. Because if the top post was for for JP Nadda, then JP Nadda's son, and then for JP Nadda's daughter, or
then
like that,
would have
then they would have been, people would have just laughed and scoffed at the BJP. The reason why this charge of dynasty stuck was that it was for the Gandhi Nehru family. And that is the reason why I don't see this charge getting blunt so much. But yes, for India also it is important, for their bloc it is important, because Rahul Gandhi will now will raise their voice more vigorously in the lower house. But honestly speaking, I think whether Rahul Gandhi was a member of parliament or Rahul Gandhi was not a member of parliament didn't had much or much of an impact the way INDIA was functioning. Because if you look at the Bihar meeting of INDIA and if you look at the Bangalore meeting of INDIA, it was made crystal clear by regional parties like JDU and RJD that whether Rahul Gandhi is a member of parliament or not, he still remains the central focal point of this bloc, the doula of the bloc. So that is one aspect which is also there.
Karthikeya, this dynastic politics, obviously we have seen fingers being pointed at this India bloc also. Do you think this particular decision somehow blunts that and also gives credence to Rahul Gandhi, to what he says?
I think it gives a life to Rahul Gandhi. You see, the biggest problem which Rahul Gandhi is facing is he lost sympathy. You see, please understand, sympathy is a very important thing in Indian politics. Mrs. Gandhi had sympathy, she came back to power in 1980. Vishwanath Pratap Singh had sympathy, he defeated Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi had sympathy, he came back to power in 1984. Vajpayee ji had sympathy in 1999 because he lost his government by one vote. He was again voted back to power. Manmohan Singh had sympathy, and that is why he came back in 2009. He told this to L.K. Advani on the floor, is it my fault that I became the Prime Minister? I remember that speech because I was in Lok Sabha in the press gallery. So people, even Narendra Modi had sympathy as an underdog in 2014. People said, boss, बहुत इस आदमी को घेर के मार रहे हैं सब लोग और ये सब लोग करप्ट है, इस आदमी में कुछ बात है. Narendra Modi just didn't win because he was a Hindu Hriday Samrat in 2014. He had sympathy of the people. He said, यही आदमी देश को बचाएगा, यही आदमी निकालेगा. You speak in terms of common man's language. This was boss, यही आदमी है, इसी के हाथ में देश सुरक्षित है. This was the narrative on which BJP worked कि मोदी है तो मुमकिन है. What was with Atal Bihari? अब की बारी अटल बिहारी, क्योंकि तुमने उसे मौका नहीं दिया. मोदी है तो मुमकिन है. So my point is, Rahul lost that sympathy factor. Today, what Rahul is getting is now some sympathy. We underestimate the power of sympathy in South Asian politics. You have sympathy, you come back. Benazir Bhutto came back. In Bangladesh, Khalida Zia and both the war of the Begums come back on the power of sympathy.
There's also, but I would also like to add to what you were saying, Karthikeya, that there is sympathy and then there is trust. The point is that what made Vajpayee or Modi or Mrs. Gandhi, Mrs. Indira Gandhi such a towering figure, or why were people able to exercise that sympathetic flavor to them is what? Because they believed in their politics. One of the thing is that when you say that Modi hai to mumkin hai or abki bari Atal Bihari, and when people buy it, it's sympathy, but it is also trust in the fact that they will deliver whatever they are saying. Yes, that trust factor was missing in Rahul Gandhi. I think Rahul Gandhi was never taken as a serious politician. This was the biggest charge, and we kept on arguing. When we were covering Bharat Jodo Yatra, my biggest line was, what I could see there was that the thing which Rahul Gandhi was gaining post that was the trust of the normal people. The common man was that started trust, and the second you do it, there is a complete change or makeover of your personality, Pankaj. Now now you see Rahul Gandhi speaking. Do you see him doing a fumble? Now he sounds a lot more confident because I know. Yeah.
Right. Well, right. Absolutely. No, you're right. The oratory skills, if you have to match
because I remember when he was speaking in Parliament, I can't name, but there were Congress people who were like, very tense when he was talking, because people were apprehensive that God forbid, he may say one word which the BJP will run away with and will lampoon Rahul Gandhi and will criticize and kind of kill the argument there. There's a lot of change in that aspect.
Certainly. And see, I guess Karthikeya and Brijesh, that both Rahul Gandhi and the Congress know what their target audience is. If you look at Rahul Gandhi these days, he is not addressing big rallies. I think
more than that, just to give a relief, let us allow our viewers to listen in to the bites that were played during the day. Let them listen. ये देश भर का है, थोड़ा अब शाम को भी सुने.
कि हमारे सदन में, हमारे संविधान में जहां भी जाइए, अब इस सदन की हर परिसर में आपको ये देखने को मिलेगी, सत्यमेव जयते. राहुल गांधी जी के खिलाफ जो घिनौना साजिश किए रची गई थी, आज साबित हुई है कि ये साजिश नाकाम हो चुके हैं। आज सुबह प्रार्थना किए थे हम सब कि राहुल गांधी जी की उनके खिलाफ जो झूठे इल्जाम लगाया गया उससे उन्हें राहत मिले। हमारे न्यायालय ने राहुल गांधी जी की राहत देते हुए सत्य साबित कर दिए हैं कि अभी भी हमारी देश में न्यायालय बोल के एक महान प्रतिष्ठान है जहां लोगों को न्याय मिलती है। ये जीत सत्य की जीत है। राहुल गांधी जी की जीत मोदी जी के लिए भारी पड़ेगी। अगले दिन राहुल गांधी जी आंधी बनकर उतरेंगे। जितना साजिश करना है करते जाओ, राहुल गांधी जी को रुकने वाला कोई नहीं है। लोकसभा स्पीकर को आज ही मैं चिट्ठी लिखूंगा और सोमवार लोकसभा खुलते ही ये मांग करूंगा। इसी वक्त मैं सदन में हूं, मतलब सदन की परिसर में हूं। अभी अभी जाकर स्पीकर से नहीं तो कम से कम फोन पे उनसे इस मुद्दे पे हम बात करने के लिए तैयार है, करने जा रहे हैं।
कि सत्य में जयते, सत्य की जीत अंत में होती ही है, अंत में, और न्याय ऐसा लगता है कि हुआ है।
सर, नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन में अब राहुल गांधी जी हिस्सा लेंगे क्योंकि उनकी सदस्यता बहाल हो जाएगी। आपको लगता है कि चर्चा जो है दिलचस्प होगी उनकी वापसी से?
देश की राजनीति दिलचस्प हो जाएगी, ऐसा हमें लगता है।
That I don't know. Speaker has to take a decision. Of course, entire country, entire world is now looking on Speaker. What is this action? Because automatically it should be revoked immediately. This is what we need. This is what the country need. Our leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha will officially request the Honorable Speaker with the copy of the judgment.
देश के सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण फैसला दिया है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऊपर जो आस्था 140 करोड़ लोगों की आस्था है वो इसीलिए है कि जब जब कसौटी पे कोई बात आती है तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट उस पर खरा उतरता है। राहुल गांधी जी के मामले में आज माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने निचली अदालतों का, गुजरात हाई कोर्ट का, लोअर कोर्ट के फैसले पर स्टे लगा दिया है। यही मैं आपके माध्यम से साझा करना चाहता हूं। यही मैं आपसे कहना चाहता हूं। देश के 140 करोड़ लोगों का भरोसा सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे था, है और रहेगा, ये मैं कहना चाहता हूं।
Right, so there we heard Congress Brajesh and Karthikeya speaking in the same term कि सूरज चांद जैसे सत्य को कभी छिपाया नहीं जा सकता. Priyanka Gandhi is saying that, by the way, and I think
said. She said, when did she say that?
She has tweeted saying like.
I know. You know, but I think more than what's happening right now. What's happening right now is exuberance. But I think what is important is what Rahul Gandhi is going to say on it in Parliament. What is important is how Congress is going to milk this in Lok Sabha in front of Prime Minister.
The Congress will milk this, Karthikeya, because they will try to portray the return of it as a return of Rahul, in the Parliament. And if you go by the statement made by Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is any indication to go by, he will definitely use, Rahul Gandhi आंधी बनकर आएंगे और मोदी जी को उखाड़ देंगे और so on and so forth. So all those statements is a clear pointer as to how the Congress intends to take this particular decision by the Apex Court inside the Lok Sabha.
Apart from this, I think very few people understand when you are outside Lok Sabha, what it does to you. Rahul Gandhi, you lose a lot of privileges. People think that कि घर बड़ा मिल गया, गाड़ी बड़ी मिल गई, ये बात नहीं होता. You as an MP, honorable member of parliament, you have access to, certain areas of decision making. You lose it. You don't get to participate
I don't think that was going to be a problem for Rahul Gandhi, Karthike, because
not for him, but other MPs.
Yeah, but that is not going to be a problem for Rahul Gandhi. But I think now what the Congress will do. If I was Congress party, now what I feel the Congress party is going to do is they will try to make a big brouhaha about certain decisions. The most important was the decision to evict Rahul Gandhi from that house. Ideally,
yes,
he should have been allowed to stay in that house till Apex Court takes a decision. But the alacrity with which the entire situation was handled, the alacrity with which, his disqualification came and immediately he was asked to vacate the house and all, I think the Congress will definitely try to make a martyr out of Rahul Gandhi's return and portray something like, that the government tried their level best, all the dirty tricks department was unleashed, he was evicted, kicked out of his house, not evicted, kicked out of his house. I mean, the narrative part which I'm saying. And then, then he makes a turnaround and makes a grand comeback.
Well, Brajesh, it looks like Congress has actually the same thing in mind. One word tweet that Congress's handle says, INC India, that says Jananayak.
Jananayak, absolutely.
And that has the
can we play that bite of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary again?
And look at this. आ रहा हूँ, सवाल जारी रखेंगे.
Let us play that bite of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary again.
Again is.
आ रहा हूँ, सवाल जारी रहेंगे. So this is what I was saying, that they will try to make return of Rahul, like as we see in South Indian movie, the Rajinikanth returns
2.0.
Yeah, 2.0 and all, so all the spectacular gravity defying entry and all. So I think if you look at the way.
Can we play the bite of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary again?
हमारे संविधान में जहां भी जाइए अब इस सदन की हर परिसर में आपको ये देखने को मिलेगी, सत्यमेव जयते। राहुल गांधी जी के खिलाफ जो घिनौना साजिश रची गई थी, आज साबित हुई है कि ये साजिश नाकाम हो चुके हैं। आज सुबह प्रार्थना किए थे हम सब कि राहुल गांधी जी की उनके खिलाफ जो झूठे इल्जाम लगाया गया उससे उन्हें राहत मिले। हमारे न्यायालय ने राहुल गांधी जी की राहत देते हुए सत्य साबित कर दिए हैं कि अभी भी हमारी देश में न्यायालय बोल के एक महान प्रतिष्ठान है जहां लोगों को न्याय मिलती है। ये जीत सत्य की जीत है। राहुल गांधी जी की जीत मोदी जी के लिए भारी पड़ेगी। अगले दिन राहुल गांधी जी आंधी बनकर उतरेंगे। जितना साजिश करना है करते जाओ, राहुल गांधी जी को रुकने वाला कोई नहीं है। लोकसभा स्पीकर को आज ही मैं चिट्ठी लिखूंगा और सोमवार लोकसभा खुलते ही ये मांग करूंगा। इसी वक्त मैं सदन में हूं, मतलब सदन की परिसर में हूं। अभी अभी जाकर स्पीकर से नहीं तो कम से कम फोन पे उनसे इस मुद्दे पे हम बात करने के लिए तैयार है, करने जा रहे हैं।
वेल कार्तिकेय, हिंदी में कहते हैं जैसे बाँछें खिल गई हो। कांग्रेस के लिए अभी आई थिंक
बाँछें खिल गई, सही बोला तुमने, बाँछें खिल गई हैं।
जिस तरह
कर्नाटक के बाद जो बाँछ खिली है,
आइसिंग ऑन द केक है।
हाँ, सही बोला तुमने।
तो इसमें हाउ डिजर्विंग इट इज। आई मीन अधीर रंजन चौधरी, मैंने इनको हमेशा एक बड़ी चिंतित मुद्रा में देखा है। ये पहली बार मैं उनको देख रहा हूं कि
I tell you something, I used to make fun of it. Jairam Ramesh in a very informal meeting, a lot of people were asking, And I can say this, a lot of people were saying, why do we have to work with Rahul Gandhi? I'm not going to name the Congress people
well,
who were
please
there.
Don't.
Why do we need to work with Rahul Gandhi? Why do we have to work with him? We can work with other people. There were a lot of people from media department. There were a lot of people from social media. There were a lot of people because, Jairam is a professorial guy, So he allows a sort of a democratic conversation. What he said was so telling. It is so true. Jairam said in that meeting, I was not sitting, but someone told me, boss, this is what we have. So the guy said, what do we have? So Jairam said, boss, we have Rahul Gandhi and we got to work with Rahul Gandhi because there is no other thing we can work against Bharatiya Janata Party. So the guy said, what? Rahul Gandhi is not working. So the guy said, that is why it is important for us to make him work. And this was before Bharat Jodo Yatra. And I'm giving that number to Jairam Ramesh because he said that in that meeting. And at that point of time, people would have made fun of him. But look at Bharat Jodo Yatra. Look at the things which happened after that. I am not saying that the Congress is coming back to power. I am not saying that the Prime Minister, Modi is looking at a big defeat. I am saying that the Congress party gradually
now have a leg in the ring.
Leg in the ring. अखाड़े में कूद पड़ आ गई है. मैं नहीं कह रहा कि पैंट पहन के वो एकदम वो भी 46 इंच का सीना है, नहीं उतना नहीं है भाई. लेकिन वो कम से कम they have put a leg in the ring. That is what has happened. So my point is very simple, and this is what Jairam said. So Congress has nothing else but Rahul Gandhi to work with. Mallikarjun Kharge is doing a fabulous job. But who campaigns for the Congress party?
Rahul Gandhi.
Rahul Gandhi. Who travelled Bharat Jodo Yatra? Rahul Gandhi.
Crisscrossed.
Mallikarjun Kharge is trying to deflect that charge from the Gandhi family boss that taken over the party. That's it. Nothing more than that. Meanwhile,
and if I may use the line which was said by Prime Minister Modi that they are saying that हमारे राज में इतना बढ़ गया तो एक किस्मत वाले को ही चुन लो ना. And it made the headline. I think right now Mallikarjun Kharge is acting as a Najar Vattu of the Congress party. I mean, right now, right now, all Najar Vattu. It's like, the word of the evil eyes. So it's like election was won under him, and the kind of strides which Congress is making, acceptability and all of Mallikarjun Kharge is on that.
Mallikarjun Kharge is a lucky totem. मतलब है जहाँ सब फेल हो गए वहाँ 80 साल के खड़गे साहब सक्सेसफुल हो गए.
लेकिन it kills two birds with one stone for Congress. एक तरफ अगर मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे को आप नहीं लाते तो ऐसे ही आप फेस करते कि भाई परिवारवाद है.
How do you blend that? But
you don't know what when Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister, people said यार ये क्या बना दिया इनको, ये तो चुनाव नहीं जीत पाते हैं, हार जाएंगे. But I remember in 2009 the campaign was Singh is King, and I was in Jalandhar and Manmohan Singh took out that sword like that. Even before Rahul Gandhi could come, people were saying Singh is King, Singh is King, Singh is King, and I was like, boss, ये क्या हो गया?
At least he got 5 more years.
And then when Mallikarjun Kharge became the president of the Congress party, people said, ये किसको बना दिया? He's not a practicing Hindu, he's a Buddhist, he's an atheist, and suddenly you have Mr. Kharge in Himachal Pradesh, you have Mr. Kharge in Karnataka, you have Kharge in charge of other political parties as the president of the Congress party. The Congress office has become functional. I have covered this party for 20 years. Okay, now 20 years. 2003 I started covering it. 2003. Boss, the office of the Congress president used... यार चाय देना यार.
ये आपकी है, लीजिए.
तो कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट का दफ्तर बंद रहता था. ताला चाबी बंद रहता था. We used to make fun as reporters, बॉस ये तो बंद ही रहता है. फिर एक दूसरा कमरा बंद हो गया क्योंकि उस कमरे में राहुल गांधी का नाम लग गया. Then the joke with the Congress reporters ये भी बंद हो गया. Mallikarjun Kharge opened up the entire Congress office. It has become functional. You go to Congress office, he sits there. So Mallikarjun Kharge बिल्कुल सही बोला आपने. मतलब नजर बट्टू है. उन्होंने कांग्रेस पार्टी की नजर उतार दी.
और देखिए कार्तिक, obviously उनका रोल जो है मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे's रोल right from day one it has been cut out very clearly. ब्रजेश, जो कार्तिकेय ने जिक्र किया कि जयराम रमेश ने जो अरिथमेटिक बताया कि हाँ हमारे पास है राहुल गांधी, उसी समय काम चलाना है, क्या आपको लगता है ये स्ट्रैटेजी कि मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे पॉलिसीज में और राहुल गांधी प्रचार में?
I understand from what Kartikeya is saying.
No, but it's a double problem.
No, but I would just like to say that what else Jairam could say. Is Jairam Ramesh going to say that no, I have an option?
I'll give an analogy, a very film analogy, with all respect. Sometimes when people don't expect things to work for you and from you, and if it does, then it is a surprise. Have you seen the film Kung Fu Panda? Do you expect a panda to be a martial art expert? The Kung Fu Panda is the most famous and money-making sort of animation which has come. What is that was least expected that the Mallikarjun Kharge would be delivering so much, and Mallikarjun Kharge is delivering lot of things.
But Kartikeya, you know, please, you have to also understand one thing, that you know that the likes of Mallikarjun Kharge and all are not something, you know, for whom power and you know politics being handed on a platter. You know, these are the people who have won elections after elections. These are the he is the chief. He is the guy who almost became the chief minister of Karnataka, and he is a guy who has you know earned his applause.
Right.
What he's also done is that he has warded off the dynasty charge which is leveled against the government.
Can we listen into some of the bites, some of the observations, speeches?
Starting with Congress.
जीत है, सत्य की जीत है, तानाशाही हार गई एक बार फिर, और गर्व है हमें। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो राहुल गांधी जी कह रहे थे नफरत की दुकानें बंद होंगी, मोहब्बत की खुलेंगी, भाजपा की जो नफरत की दुकान राहुल जी के खिलाफ खुली थी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उसे बंद करते हुए आज मोहब्बत की दुकान इसको बहाल करके उनकी सदस्यता जो है वो किया है। अब हमारा नजर स्पीकर पर है।
राहुल जी की मैं केवल 1 मिनट देखिए, राहुल जी की सजा जिस कैंपेनिंग के दौरान बयान पर हुई थी, वो बयान ये था कि जो लोग देश से पैसा गबन करके बाहर ले गए हैं, मतलब चोर हैं, सबका नाम सरनेम मोदी ही क्यों है। ये एक प्रश्नवाचक चिन्ह है, एक इंटरोगेटिव है। उन्होंने पूछा था, उन्होंने अफर्मेटिव वे में ये नहीं कहा था कि देश के सभी चोर मोदी हैं। इसलिए जिस दिन जुडिशरी इस लाइन को डिसेक्ट करेगी, इस लाइन की एनालिसिस करेगी, राहुल गांधी फाइनल रूप से, अंतिम रूप से उनको जस्टिस मिलेगी, इसमें मुझे यकीन है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
से धराशायी हो गया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपनी तल्ख टिप्पणी में यह भी कहा है कि 162 साल के इंडियन पीनल कोड में पहली बार किसी व्यक्ति को 2 साल की सजा मिली जिससे कि उसकी सदस्यता चली जाए। आईना दिखाने का काम निचली अदालतों को भी किया, लेकिन हम बहुत उत्साहित हैं, बहुत खुश हैं, क्योंकि शेर फिर से सदन में दहाड़ेगा और अब बिना किसी विलंब के सदन के सभापति को उनकी सदस्यता पुनः बहाल कर देनी चाहिए। मैं आशा करती हूं कि उनकी सदस्यता तुरंत और त्वरित रूप से बहाल करी जाए, जिससे मणिपुर जैसे मुद्दे पर वो बात प्रखरता से, गंभीरता से रख सकें। वो बड़े राजनेता हैं जो मणिपुर गए थे, वहां पर लोगों के घावों पर मरहम लगाया, उनके साथ संवेदना व्यक्त करी, उनके वेदना को समझा, और ऐसे में राहुल गांधी जी का सदन में बोलना जरूरी है। इस देश के पार्लियामेंट को, इस देश के सदन को राहुल गांधी जी की जरूरत है, और आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपने फैसले से उसकी पुनरावृत्ति कर दी है।
Judgment and order of the Supreme Court of India today has once again re-established the faith of common people of the country in the Supreme Court of India, in democracy and constitutionalism, and in the fundamentals that truth shall prevail. The truth has prevailed today. Satyamev Jayate. Rest assured that the roar of truth of Shri Rahul Gandhi will once again be heard in the biggest temple of democracy, in the corridors of Parliament, holding the government accountable to 140 crore Indians, holding the government accountable to truth, holding the government accountable for its misdeeds, holding the government accountable for unemployment, price rise, politics of hate, and ensuring that Constitution and people of India always win.
बट सत्य में जयते है, ये लड़ाई सच और झूठ का लड़ाई है। सच को जीत हुआ है, भले सच को इन लोग ने परेशान कर सकता है, पराजित नहीं कर सकता है। ये एनडीए और इंडिया का जीत हुआ है। राहुल जी, जब भी राहुल जी का इन लोग ने डिस्क्वालीफाई, तब भी घर पे नहीं बैठे, लोगों का आवाज़ उठाना, लोगों का दर्द सुनने, कश्मीर से लेके कन्याकुमारी तक हमेशा राहुल जी ने संघर्ष करने का काम किया है। जो लोग जो किस तरीके से जो आज के फैसले में पूरा दुनिया में जो त्यौहार बना रहा है, इससे पता चला है। अभी बीजेपी वाले तमाम बयान कर रहे हैं, थोड़ा सच को भी इन लोगों को बर्दाश्त करने का तो थोड़ा रखना चाहिए इनको, तो किसको नहीं पच रहा है जो ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला से सारे बीजेपी नेता अभी कोर्ट के ऊपर भी इन लोग आवाज़ उठा सकते हैं, तो उनका काम है। जो हमारा जो राहुल जी के नेतृत्व में देश का लोकतंत्र बचाने का, संविधान को बचाने का काम हम लोग करेंगे। देखिए अभी जो भी है, राहुल जी ने जो उनके आप पूरा आज का जो वहाँ कोर्ट में जो आर्ग्यू हुआ है, सारे बात आप सुन सकते हैं किस तरीके के राहुल गांधी जी उस तरीके का जो बात इन लोग ने किस लेवल पे लेके गया। जो कर्नाटक में जो 2019 में जो बात हुआ था उसको वैकेंट क्यों हुआ, एक पार्लियामेंट में आवाज़ उठाए वो
ने। देखिए अब सजा पर रोक लगाई है लेकिन उनको बरी नहीं किया है, और जिस प्रकार से बहुत स्पष्ट है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी का लगातार ये अपमान करते रहे। आज से नहीं, आपने देखा होगा 2019 के चुनाव से पहले भी वो प्रधानमंत्री जी को जिस प्रकार से सार्वजनिक चोर बोलने का काम करते थे, और उसके बाद में बगैर किसी तथ्यों के आधार पर कोई भी आरोप लगा देते थे। हद तो तब हो गई जब प्रधानमंत्री जी को गाली देते देते वो उनके माँ बाप तक भी चले गए, उसके बाद में फिर उनकी जाति को भी गाली दी। तो न्यायालय ने संज्ञान में लिया, इनको सजा दी, और हाईकोर्ट ने सजा को बहाल रखा, लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट में आने के बाद में उसको बरी नहीं किया गया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी माना कि इनसे गलती हुई है। भारत जैसे पवित्र लोकतंत्र में कोई बड़ा नेता इस प्रकार के यदि आचरण करता है तो उसको स्वीकार नहीं किया जा सकता। न्यायालय का भी जो भी निर्णय है वो सिरोधार्य है, लेकिन जो सबसे बड़ी न्यायालय है वो जनता की है लोकतंत्र में। अभी 2024 के चुनाव में जनता के बीच में जाना है, और मुझे पूरा भरोसा है जनता इनको जरूर सजा देगी।
हमने याचिका फाइल की थी, बाद में 2023 में ट्रायल कोर्ट में सभी कानूनी प्रक्रिया के बाद श्रीमान राहुल गांधी को 2 साल की सजा दी गई। बाद में श्रीमान श्री राहुल गांधी ने उस सजा के सामने सूरत की सेशन कोर्ट में कन्विक्शन स्टे के लिए याचिका दी गई थी। वहां भी उनकी कन्विक्शन स्टे नहीं हुआ। जो फैसला था हमारे पक्ष में आया। बाद में कन्विक्शन स्टे के लिए माननीय गुजरात की बड़ी अदालत हाईकोर्ट में भी कन्विक्शन स्टे के लिए उन्होंने याचिका फाइल की थी। गुजरात हाईकोर्ट ने भी कन्विक्शन स्टे नहीं किया, फैसला हमारी और आया। बाद में नामदार सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कन्विक्शन स्टे के लिए श्रीमान राहुल ने याचिका फाइल की थी। आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट में श्रीमान राहुल गांधी का कन्विक्शन स्टे किया गया है। इस कानूनी प्रक्रिया में हम इस सम्मानीय फैसले का स्वागत करते हैं।
Right, so there you heard the man Purnesh Modi himself, and obviously welcoming the decision. Brijesh, again for the benefit of the viewers who are joining us right now, taking you back to the court once again, because you mentioned a very critical aspect that ऐसा ज़माना हुआ करता था, ऐसा टाइम होता था, looking at the जो जिरह सुनते थे आप कोर्ट में, उससे एकदम इतर फैसला आता था, तो वो एक आश्चर्य होता था। पुर्नेश मोदी के नाम को भी लेके जिक्र आया कि इन्होंने अपना सरनेम तो बदल लिया है। सो दिस वाज आल्सो अ पॉइंट वेयर द जज एक्चुअली टुक नोट ऑफ इट कि उन्हें क्यों इससे समस्या हो गई तब, उन्होंने नाम तो अपना मोड कर लिया था मोदी से।
See, basically, I think that should have been an observation which should have been there in the lower court itself. And very interestingly, if you go to the lower court and the way it had functioned, at that time, there was a judge who was asking all kind of difficult questions, and this case was taken by and was again put in there when the judge changed. I'm not casting aspersion on any judge and all, but I'm saying that I'm stating the facts of the case. And there are times, majority of the times in cases and all, going by, the number of years we have covered courts and all, most of the time the oral observations which give glee to people and say that, oh my God, the law of the spirit of the law is enforced and all, usually doesn't find in the written order. That is the reason why if you ask somebody that what has the court said, they say like wait for the written order, because the real gig is in the written order. So I mean, but this time the observation and the real order, there was no difference in that. And the court asked certain relevant questions, and I mean, honestly speaking, there were not many who had doubted that the case will fall flat in the apex court, because if they thought that they will realize or appreciate the position of law. The position of law is that that the 2 year is a maximum punishment. And it's a bailable offense, it's a compoundable offense.
So why
and
go
fact
for
is that even there is a day less, you will not be charged under your Representation of People Act doesn't kick in.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's going to make a difference for Rahul Gandhi vis-a-vis other regional parties, this judgment? Will it impact that?
Well, very good question, I would say, Karthikeya, because this is something that not only Congress was watching, other parties would also must be watching it.
Correct.
मैं तो कहता हूँ कि लालू जी बैठ के देख रहे होंगे, ममता बनर्जी देख रही होंगी, दिल्ली में अरविंद केजरीवाल देख रहे होंगे, because it matters a lot. If you look at it in the bigger sense of things, then an आम आदमी पार्टी साइडिंग विद कांग्रेस, जब उनको सपोर्ट चाहिए था लोकसभा में दिल्ली बिल के खिलाफ, उन्होंने हाथ मिलाया. अब राहुल गांधी जो उनका फ्लैगशिप ट्रम्प कार्ड है, उनका वापस दंगल में आ जाना, it augurs a lot of, assumes a lot of significance for the faces like Mamata Banerjee to Kejriwal.
And there's also one interesting thing which I would say, that in majority, whenever you look at the history of these kind of parties coming together and forming a bloc, Karthikeya and Pankaj, the fact is that there is one party which is the pole party, and then the rest of the regional parties gravitate towards it. People may have problem with Rahul Gandhi, Mamata Banerjee has an issue with Rahul Gandhi, Arvind Kejriwal may have an issue with Rahul Gandhi, but I think, you will have to make your peace with him, and going by the parties which are going to make very, very important differentiation, and that is the reason why, BJP is spending their maximum attention to those places, are the state of Bihar and Maharashtra. And I think in Bihar, the two regional parties which call the shot there, the JDS and the RJD, have said in as many words and openly that it is Rahul Gandhi who will be the Dulha of this Bharat, which is called INDI.
And this also has one important aspect to it. You see, Rahul Gandhi had been directly attacking Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Right.
If you recall that Chaukidar Chor Hai was given by Rahul Gandhi, and Rahul Gandhi came under intense criticism not only from BJP but from the Congress party itself. And if you remember, BJP also launched a campaign called Main Bhi Chaukidar, correct? That was the campaign. So that was before the Lok Sabha election. But after that, Rahul Gandhi went quiet for a couple of years after resigning as the president. But he came back, he again started to attack Prime Minister. First he started on the Savarkar issue. Then he started on the issue, "Main darta nahi hu." Third, he said that was regional, he had to recalibrate it. He said regional parties don't have ideology, but we will, we ideologically, we are different. So this gives fillip to Rahul Gandhi's brand of politics within the Congress party. Please understand that this is not Sonia's Congress. Sonia Gandhi was a totem pole around which few leaders of the Congress party could organize themselves. Ahmed Patel, Janardhan Dwivedi, Motilal Vora, Ambika Soni, they created a totem pole of Sonia. And around that halo, the Congress politics happened for 15 years. There is no totem pole. Rahul Gandhi right now is not the totem pole, because he wants to do things himself. He wants to do it himself. That is why he doesn't have any Ahmed Patel to say.
But there's also one aspect of this Congress, this entire narration, Karthikeya, and you have to also factor in the fact that, Rahul Gandhi said that against Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi made a disparaging remark about his closeness or alleged closeness with an industrialist, with Adani Group. Rahul Gandhi attacked Prime Minister saying Chaukidar Chor hai, and spoke about Rafale and all. It boomerang politically to him. It never resulted into anything politically solid. And that is the reason where you're saying that it's a victory for Congress. We also saw two very minor but very critical change in Rahul Gandhi. A, he has stopped speaking on Savarkar. So the compulsions of coalition politics have kicked in. So he has stopped speaking about Savarkar. He has stopped attacking Adani. And I'm telling you,
and he stopped
Regional
questioning
parties.
Prime Minister and everything. Manipur, you remember?
I will add one more line.
Manipur mein
I will add
kuch
one line to this conversation, Karthikeya, which is only the dead don't change. The point is, and the best example is Arvind Kejriwal. He is the person, he is a politician who has gone to any level and has disparaged Prime Minister Narendra Modi, went into the level of calling him a psychopath and God knows what. The day he realized that this is not going to work for him, he made such a brilliant 180-degree turnaround, but not talking about Prime Minister at all.
I do not recall how many days I wasted at Constitution Club when he would hold his press conference. Every day when he would say the biggest corruption case, the biggest corruption, 20 cases of corruption. I don't know how many days I would stand there, thinking that there is a corruption, and then it would be a newspaper report.
Let's
See,
also
just a sec before you go to
Yes,
Gautam.
yes.
There's also a case like, you know, when BJP was in opposition, we saw the former law minister Ravi Shankar Prasad coming up and saying that, you know, we have, you know, from the podium this much case file against Robert Vadra, and Robert Vadra will go to jail the day we come.
I mean, it's all about, this is part of the Indian politics.
It's all about creating the narration.
Rajiv Gandhi wala account mere case mein.
It is about creating the narration and then running away with it.
Well, then we have to go back to 2004 and 8 also 2G, 3G घोटाले वो भी कल कितने culprit पकड़े गए. Nonetheless, Gautam Mukherjee is there with us. Gautam, well, you can have the sip first. Yeah. So, how do you see it? Supreme Court obviously giving much relief to Rahul Gandhi and a shot in the arm for the Congress also. How do you read it?
I think it's predictable. This is totally expected of the presence of the Supreme
Gautam,
Court.
can you be a little louder? I can't hear you. Kartike hai. थोड़ा जोर से बोलिए.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
हाँ, I can hear you now. हाँ, अब आप सुनाई दे रहे हैं.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that this is pretty much expected from.
I think there's an audio problem, you know.
Right.
Gautam is saying that this is pretty much expected. But Rahul Gandhi's story of defamation is also a story of how certain laws are getting weaponized. You know, I personally have a different position on laws on sedition. I know it is bad politics, Pankaj, when we talk about sedition laws. Congress party in its manifesto wanted to amend sedition law. People felt that this is not the time to amend sedition laws. It went against the Congress party. You know, there are certain laws which require amendment. This heavy political weaponization of laws against people is something, like, for example, you have those, if you recall in 70s, on which principle did emergency was put in force? Public order and public good. ये जो colonial legacy है ना, public order और public good की,
इसके definition,
इसकी इतनी draconian powers होती हैं, इतनी draconian powers होती हैं, तो it's, you know, there's a wider debate which is also required, that do you really require,
nobody requires, but Kartikeya, the tragedy is that you remember this draconian side only when you're in the opposition or at the receiving end. The problem is, if the government realizes, I mean, this day and age in 21st century, do you have a criminal defamation law? I mean, there could be nothing more, shocking than this. But the fact of the matter is, everybody wants to keep that one joker in the pack, which he can use to demolish the other entity. I mean, you know, people say that, you know, we all have been discussed this like 100 times.
Like Enforcement Directorate's amendment which was brought in by Chidambaram.
Yeah, no, amendment which was brought in by Chidambaram, but I think I'm not disappointed with Chidambaram. I'm making it very clear, Kartikeya, with all responsibility, I was not disappointed with Chidambaram. Politicians play politics. I was disappointed with the verdict of the Supreme Court. The verdict of the Supreme Court made that into an unbeatable missile, which or an organization which the Enforcement Directorate has turned into. It was a judgment which was very rightly severely criticized by several, which it puts the onus of proving your innocence on you. You know, I mean, it was not. I was surprised with Chidambaram, but the fact is that, you know, majority of these laws are colonial laws, and they should be done away with at the first instance or the first chance any government should get. But as I said, if you are in opposition, you have a different narration. When you come to the government, then you have a completely different thing going for you.
And more than the narration, I think, you know, this gives ample opportunity for Rahul Gandhi. Let's come back to Rahul Gandhi, you know, because it impacts Rahul Gandhi. This gives an ample opportunity for Rahul Gandhi to remake himself. Now, because see, Rahul Gandhi has, you know, he has now the opportunity to go back to the parliament. Yes, the court has said that the observation was not in right taste. The court has also said that. This provides ample ammunition to Rahul Gandhi on tentatively on 11th of August, because Rahul Gandhi, when he will speak on Manipur, when Rahul Gandhi is going to speak on Manipur, this will be a personal debate between him and the Prime Minister. This will be a personal debate. You see, Congress party has a small kitty of MPs. You get limited time because you are small in number. You get more time because you are large in number. So larger share of that speech or the time will be allocated to Rahul Gandhi by the Congress party itself. जैसे अपन लोग 10 लोग हैं तो हम लोगों को 10 मिनट का समय मिलेगा, तो हम लोग 2 मिनट करेंगे, लेकिन इसमें क्या होगा कि अगर आधे घंटे का वक्त मिलेगा तो 20 minutes will be given to Rahul Gandhi. So this will make the last day of the parliament session very, very effective. And I also want to see the day when Rahul Gandhi walks inside the parliament.
I am saying that, as I have been saying ever since the word came out that Supreme Court stayed, the Congress is going to celebrate, and I was vindicated by, majority of the Congress statement which has come after that. The Congress is going to treat that as a return of Rahul, as somebody who was vindicated, because that is how you build a roaring narrative around your leader. I mean, it's
and by all means also, I mean, Congress, we saw Kartikeya and Brajesh, the scenes outside the Parliament House, Vijay Chowk, जहाँ आप लोगों के लिए बहुत common और familiar जगह है. The black bands suddenly turned into black kurta pajama, all overall of black. So अगर वो था उनका प्रदर्शन उसके विरोध में, राहुल के डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन में, तो I'm sure there would be there will be gung ho.
You can see the IYC chief feeding everybody with copious amount of laddus to celebrate the stay on the Supreme Court. Stay by the Supreme Court on Rahul Gandhi's conviction.
कार्तिकेय, बहुत दिनों के बाद AICC हेडक्वार्टर्स में इस तरह की चहल पहल देखने को मिल रही है, खासकर लड्डू बट रहे हैं. हालांकि कर्नाटका चुनाव
के बाद there has been spring in the step. The party has there's a buoyancy there. The Congress feels that that there's a slight turnaround at the kind of political misfortune they have been handling or seeing for a while now. So that happiness is there.
Definitely, I'm sure the cheering sounds there. Well, there we see.
When we, the celebrations will continue through the day. Celebrations will continue through the week, and maybe the celebration will continue the next week as well. The point is how much capital which the Congress party will gain from it. It will entirely depend on the speech. Let me tell you, sometimes people make gaffes. You recall when Rahul Gandhi hugged Prime Minister?
Yes, he walked up.
When he did that, I thought, boss, what a masterstroke. And then what he did exactly 15 minutes later, he looked at the press gallery and he winked.
He looked at Jyotiraditya and
he winked. My God, within 10 minutes, what he did went away. So in politics, you don't know.
But I would say one more thing, Kartikeya, that when we were talking about Jairam Ramesh, when we were talking about Bharat Jodo Yatra and all, I think perhaps the only time the Congress strategists have applied their mind in coming up, in realizing the shortcomings, brutally assessing the shortcomings of Rahul Gandhi and then working a strategy around it, was Bharat Jodo Yatra. Because all these Jadu ki Jhappi, Nafrat ka Saudagar, all these they never work long time for in politics, and especially when you are up against a orator like Prime Minister Narendra Modi. When he ripped apart Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party for what they have done to democracy. So I think this Bharat Jodo Yatra gave him the two aspects, the credibility and the consistency, which he lacked severely, because there were always talk that Rahul Gandhi would raise a particular issue in the parliament for 2 days, 3 days, all kind of protest and all happened. Then all of a sudden in the middle of the Lok Sabha he would vanish and nobody would know where he is gone. So that had dented his credibility and consistency. I think Bharat Jodo Yatra brought it. And second important thing is, Kartikeya, I think the most important thing for the Congress party would be to ensure that the message is not lost in translation. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. If you want to speak in English, please stick to English, but don't do this English to Hindi translation. Actually, we end up making a fool of yourself.
There's a difference which I could feel. I'm not saying I'm the only person who has covered Rai Bareilly and Amethi, but after that extensive experience of going there for 10 years, I realized one thing: Rahul Gandhi is far more comfortable in English. प्रियंका गांधी इज फार मोर कंफर्टेबल इन हिंदी. भाई बातचीत भी होती थी, मतलब कई बार होता है जैसे खड़े हैं वहाँ तो कोई भी रिपोर्टर पता है P2C आप कर रहे हैं, सड़क किनारे खड़े हैं. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर समवन सेड डिड समथिंग टू मी लाइक दिस. आई सेड अरे ये क्या हुआ? And my camera person started smiling. I looked. So Kishori Lal was driving and Priyanka said, क्या कर रहे हो तुम यहाँ? रैली तो खत्म हो गई. So suddenly I realized वो गाड़ी में बैठी थी और हिंदी, first words were in Hindi. So in these little spaces you understand कि the first language. Rahul Gandhi is and he's a good speaker. You see, in personal conversation, you can feel that Rahul has a lot of clarity. You might say, that you can criticize him for being, he draws heavily from a lot of books or anecdotes, but that's one way of looking at it. कहते हैं ना कि बड़े पढ़े लिखे हैं पर कढ़े नहीं है वैसे. That is another thing. But he's pretty convincing, fluent in one-to-one. The problem is when he is on the dais, then that Rahul Gandhi becomes very different from the Rahul Gandhi which you
I think no, but the problem is that only, you know, it's lost in translation.
Yes.
You always want to, you say something in Hindi, but you know, it's like, you know that the Prime Minister has also been criticized several times when he
वैसे आज कांग्रेस के लिए दिन अच्छा है, सुनने में आया जगदीश टाइटलर को भी आज एंटिसिपेटरी बेल मिल गई है.
चलिए, looks like the streak.
ये रह गया था हमारे दिमाग में, हम जितनी चर्चा कर रहे थे. मतलब आज दिन बड़ा दिन था, आज ज्ञानवापी का दिन था, उसमें कोर्ट का हुआ. इफ यू रिकॉल, सुबह ट्रम्प से हुआ, हमने इमैनुअल मैक्रोन पे बात की आपसे. यू नो, सो मेनी अदर, आवर कवरेज वाज ऑन नू इन मॉर्निंग. और उसके बीच में
केरल भी हमने कवर किया, बीच में
केरल भी कवर किया. उसके बीच में लगता है छोटी सी बात भी रह गई.
चलिए, आपने बता दिया,
वो भी एंटिसिपेटरी बेल पा गए.
चलिए, we have two guests also waiting to join us here. Senior Advocate K.C. Mittal is there, and also Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam, we'll come back to you. Mr. Mittal has just joined us. Mr. Mittal, well, how do you see this verdict from the Supreme Court? First things first, and secondly, were you also expecting it?
You know, this is a great victory in a way, and even as an advocate, anybody doing practice on criminal side would have expected this. Reason being, and as is indicated in the order of the Honorable Supreme Court also, in a defamation case, giving maximum punishment to 2 years without any justifiable reasons, without any recording of reasons except saying and referring to the contempt order of the Supreme Court earlier, that by itself made it an issue, and where the Supreme Court judges were quite convinced and satisfied that this maximum punishment of 2 years in a case of defamation is totally unjustified and reasonable. Therefore, they stayed the conviction part of it. And it would have happened. It should have happened, as a matter of fact, even at the level of the High Court. Any lawyer doing practice on the criminal side or anywhere,
right,
would not expect, even in normal course, you go to the murder case and other cases, maximum punishment of 2 years, which is prescribed on Section 499, giving that kind of dose was totally unreasonable, unexpected, and against all judicial norms. I can say that.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, when the section itself says sentence 2 years or fine or both, what does it mean? And it's just an offense, so-called defamation, which has yet to undergo the exercise before the appellate court, whether it is the conviction is sustainable or it's sustained or not, that is still the appellate court has yet to decide on the merits, because the Supreme Court has not gone on to the merits of the matter. The merits have to be gone into over there. Today, the issue was very limited. Whether in the face of it and the reasoning recorded by the subordinate court, even the High Court, justifying the maximum punishment of 2 years, whether that is reasonable, justified, or at this stage should be stayed or not. And as a matter of fact, since the Supreme Court found it without any valid reasons, and only reason given was, as I have already said, the contempt proceedings of the Supreme Court. So the court said, no, stay it at as far as the appeal part is concerned. On the question of marriage, the court has not gone into, and court was not really supposed to go into also, because all that has to be considered by the appellate court. Therefore, in the facts and circumstances, in any case, I think, if you ask me frankly speaking, on having practiced for so long, even the High Court should have done it, rather than going into and writing a judgment as justifying into running into more than 100 pages.
मित्तल साहब, लोग तो बोल रहे हैं वैसे केस बनता नहीं था, लेकिन मोटी बात है केस बना। केस ट्रायल कोर्ट से हाई कोर्ट पे गया। राहुल गांधी को अपना घर छोड़ना पड़ा।
An
important point is that what looked like a normal procedure of law, which would be tossed away at the first instance, went up to the apex court.
मामला तो छोटा नहीं था, मामला तो बहुत बड़ा बना। तभी इतनी बड़ी-बड़ी बाइट्स दिन भर में आई नहीं।
तो बाइट्स की अगर आपने बात की तो एक बाइट सुन भी लेते हैं। Let's listen in what both the Congress and the opposition parties have to say on this regard.
बीजेपी सांसद राजेंद्र अग्रवाल जी हमारे साथ हैं। सर, राहुल गांधी की जो कन्विक्शन था उस पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने रोक लगा दी, अब जल्द ही वो आप लोगों के बीच लोकसभा में नजर आएंगे।
नहीं, ठीक है, सर्वोच्च न्यायालय का निर्णय है। उससे पहले भी न्यायालय का ही निर्णय था जिसके कारण से उनको वो सजा दी गई थी। तो जो स्थिति है वो है, और सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने भी उनकी उसको रोक लगाई है, तो जरूर उनका स्वागत है, संसद के अंदर वो आए।
लेकिन कांग्रेस कहने एक साजिश के तहत ये सब किया गया राहुल गांधी के खिलाफ, क्योंकि वो लगातार प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और सरकार के खिलाफ बोल रहे हैं।
ये कांग्रेस का ये एक प्रकार से ये कोर्ट की जो व्यवस्था है, न्यायालय की जो व्यवस्था है, उसके ऊपर टिप्पणी है। ये न्यायालय का निर्णय है। न्यायालय अपने विवेक से, अपनी समझ से निर्णय देते हैं, और उसको उन निर्णयों के अंदर कई बार उनको बदला भी जाता है, कई बार उनको रोका भी जाता है। तो जो भी स्थिति है वही है, इसके अंदर सरकार का या सरकार के किसी भी अंग का इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं।
कांग्रेस कह रही कि जल्द से जल्द उनके लोकसभा सदस्य को बहाल किया जाए।
वो जो नियम के अनुसार जो व्यवस्था होगी उसी के हिसाब से हो जाएगी। वो तो एक स्वाभाविक प्रक्रिया है, उस प्रक्रिया के अंतर्गत जो होना होगा वो हो जाएगा।
विश्वास मत पे जो चर्चा होगी तो आप लोगों के बीच में होंगे राहुल गांधी?
यदि वो होंगे तो चर्चा में भाग लेंगे। अभी तो देखना होगा कि क्या उसके नियम हैं, और यदि नियम के अनुसार वो सदस्यता उनकी बहाल होती है तो उनका स्वागत है, वो चर्चा में भाग लें। हम तो पहले दिन से चर्चा की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन वो आते हैं, वो भी चर्चा में भाग लें।
कांग्रेसी और पूरा विपक्ष बड़ा उत्साहित है राहुल गांधी के इस सजा पे रोक से।
ओके, उनको उत्साहित होने का अधिकार है, वो उत्साहित हों, लेकिन जिम्मेदारी से व्यवहार करें।
ये राहुल जी से संबंधित प्रयोग अगर सफल हो जाता तो ये अन्य नेताओं के साथ भी अलग अलग राज्यों में भी यही कोशिश करते। संसदीय लोकतंत्र में और अब तक के अपने इतिहास में मैंने किसी को इतनी बड़ी सजा नहीं देखी थी, और इसके बहुत दूर तक परिणाम होते हैं। मैं समझता हूं कि तकनीकी रूप से भी उनकी सदस्यता को फौरन बहाल किया जाए, ताकि वो अविश्वास प्रस्ताव पर बहस में शामिल हों, और जो उनके सरोकार हैं, जो उनका अनुभव है, जो उन्होंने मणिपुर की भी पीड़ा देखी है, उस पर अपनी बात रख पाए।
तो उनके फेवर में आया, उनके फेवर में आया, अच्छी बात है, इट्स गुड थिंग। नो, बट ही वाज इवन ही हैड नो इफेक्ट ऑफ दिस disqualification, no disqualification. He was doing the same job which he was doing earlier as member of parliament.
I think it is an appropriate order. If you see the judgment today, if you see the order today, it is very important that we have people who speak the truth coming back to the Lok Sabha. Politics of hate, politics of vengeance will not win in this country, and we support this order. It's a fair order. It is important for our democracy to be upheld.
राहुल गांधी जी का भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय आया है, तो हम तो रोज कह रहे हैं आपको, ये जो फासिस्ट लोग हैं, जिस प्रकार से आज चिंता लगी हुई देश के अंदर माहौल बना हुआ है, उसमें आप देखिए कि डिफेमेशन केस के अंदर आजादी के बाद में पहला राहुल गांधी है जिसको 2 साल की पूरी सजा मिली है लोअर कोर्ट में। हाई कोर्ट के फैसले को तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने धज्जियां उड़ा दी, उस फैसले की तो उसको खारिज ही कर दिया। हाई कोर्ट के फैसले को, हाई कोर्ट का फैसला आपने देखा होगा जो आ रहा था उस वक्त में खबरों में, क्या क्या लिखा फैसले के अंदर, क्या बैकग्राउंड बताया राहुल गांधी का, कहाँ कहाँ इनके केस चल रहे हैं, कर रहे हैं। ये काम हाईकोर्ट का होता है। तो कहने का मतलब कि सारे काम सही दिशा में जा रहे हैं।
देखिए, सच्चाई की जीत हुई है। एक नेक इंसान को जिस तरह से इन्होंने परेशान करने की कोशिश की, आप देख लीजिए ना किस शालीनता से राहुल जी ने काम किया। जैसे ही उनकी सदस्यता रद्द हुई, उन्होंने मकान खाली कर दिया। दूसरी तरफ मोदी जी और अमित शाह झूठ बोलने के जो है पीएचडी हैं। केस देख लीजिए, कर्नाटका में भाषण, केरला के सांसद, केस होता है गुजरात में, और तुरंत जो है सजा सुनाई दी जाती है। हमारा इतना कहना है कि राहुल जी का पार्लियामेंट वापस आने से मोदी जी को जो है ना इलेक्ट्रिक करंट लग गया है। अब मोदी जी कुछ दिन पहले हाथ हिलाते हुए पार्लियामेंट एंटर नहीं किए, अब मुझे नहीं लगता कि कभी पार्लियामेंट एंटर करेंगे, क्योंकि राहुल जी वापस आ रहे हैं। और नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन और मणिपुर नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन के अलावा मणिपुर पर जो चर्चा होगी उस पर हमें खुशी है कि देश देखेगा। इंडिया अलायंस जो है, इंडिया अलायंस को हमारे समझ में तो एक च्यवनप्राश मिल गई है।
लोकतंत्र की जीत है, सत्य की जीत है, तानाशाही हार गई एक बार फिर। और गर्व है हमें, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो राहुल गांधी जी कह रहे थे नफरत की दुकानें बंद होंगी, मोहब्बत की खुलेंगी, भाजपा की जो नफरत की दुकान राहुल जी के खिलाफ खुली थी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उसे बंद करते हुए आज मोहब्बत की दुकान इसको बहाल करके उनकी सदस्यता जो है वो किया है। अब हमारा नजर स्पीकर पर है।
Right, obviously buoyant Congress and also opposition to taking the pot shot. Well, that's how it happens. Joining me in the studio is my colleague Kabir Naqvi and Varghese Abrams. Gentlemen, I'll come back to you, but before that, I need to speak to Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam, well, thank you so much for staying with us. As I was mentioning earlier also, you know, this verdict from the Supreme Court, all it took, by the way, obviously, many would say is a vindication, and as Congress would put it, definitely, I mean, they wouldn't put it any less there. How would, in your opinion, BJP view it?
Well, you know, the Supreme Court does tend to favor the Congress, and therefore, this was expected. Having
Supreme
said
Court
that,
tends to favor the Congress.
yes, the present Supreme Court certainly tends to favor the Congress, and therefore this verdict was expected. There are various ways to interpret something like this. This is a serial offender who has been hauled up in front of multiple courts around the land for his intemperate speech, and each time he just shrugs it off. Once or twice he has apologized. Most of the time he's made a virtue of it. And, you know, it was waiting to happen that somebody would treat what he says as something, you know, not acceptable and give him an exemplary punishment. And that is what the trial court did. And that is what the Gujarat High Court upheld. Of course, now, again, if you like, Supreme Court has legitimized this kind of you know, bad mouthing that Rahul Gandhi specializes in, and we can expect an energized version of it. If he, I don't know what the rules are. Can he come back to Parliament without standing for elections again, because he has been disqualified, and he has, you know, been disqualified from. I don't know, but even if he doesn't. I mean, if the stay means, okay, there is a magic wand and all is forgiven and it is as it was before, and the only thing missing in his repertoire is his government house for the moment, then it's one thing. If on the other hand, he has to go through the whole business of getting re-elected before he's anywhere. The other thing, and very importantly, which I think is going to worry various prime ministerial aspirants in the alliance is, oh my God, this fellow has come back with a crack at the job, and he's also most likely, because he's sort of from Congress, going to have the maximum number of seats after all is said and done at the elections.
Well, sort of from Congress or the former Congress President. Gautam, stay with us. मित्तल साहब, अभी आपने सुना होगा, गौतम का कहना है कि जो करंट सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो स्थिति है वो कांग्रेस को फेवर करती है. हालांकि इसमें मेरी राय नहीं है, मैं उनको बस कोट कर रहा हूं. I just wanted to know from you, how do you think about it?
I seriously dispute what my friend is saying. This is something, a kind of maligning the Supreme Court, which he should not have done it. And he should not do it. Looking at it from a legal aspect and as a practitioner, I can tell you the Supreme Court order is perfect, legally justified, and I'm telling you this order should have been passed even by the High Court. As a matter of fact, it happens. And let me tell you another important aspect, the way he is putting, Mr. Mukherjee, this is totally wrong. We must understand the basics of Section 8, Subsection 4 of Representation of People's Act. And I think Lily Thomas judgment needs to be reconsidered and to avoid this kind of chaos and unnecessary situations. Any sentence, any conviction by a magistrate court is always subject to the appellate decision. Appeal court decides. There is a remedy available to him and in the High Court, even the Supreme Court, and any judgment or conviction becomes final only when it is upheld by the final court, and that is the Supreme Court. He, simply because a magistrate has said, given a conviction, a sentence to 2 years, that doesn't mean 8(4) will apply. And you can throw out anybody and everybody out of parliament, disqualified. What kind of judgment? I think it needs to be reviewed and reconsidered, the Supreme Court judgment in the Lily Thomas case. The whole basic principle of law has been changed. I'll tell you why. What happens is, supposing we deal in even in the service subject laws or even on the criminal side. Even if a magistrate or a sessions court has convicted somebody, tomorrow it is reversed by this High Court, then what happens?
Right.
But what happens supposing a High Court conviction, the Supreme Court reverses it and said acquitted, then what happens? It becomes final only Supreme Court comes into the play.
Right.
They have to understand the fundamentals of the jurisprudence and the legal system. The court system we have to understand. Therefore, 8(4) was for this purpose only under the Representation of People's Act 1951. Today we are in 2023. The whole idea is that no order of a trial court becomes final unless it reaches the final court, and whether the court puts a stamp or reverses the order, then that is the only one which is binding. That becomes the law.
The Supreme Court's prerogative and the final authority also. Mr. Mittal, Mr. Mukherjee, stay with us. Yes.
Sorry. So therefore, simply because, and it creates a kind of situation where now the speaker cannot. As a matter of fact, once the conviction has been stayed, he continues. And the speaker has to use formal orders.
Right.
No election. The conviction as a matter of, for the purpose, for our purposes and even for the purposes of Parliament, is stayed. So he would be in the Parliament. And the
we'll have to wait and watch.
Right,
Mr. Mittal. Right. You are mentioning the due process, and obviously, as the Lok Sabha Secretariat would also have it. You are right. There would be a due process to it. Kabir, Varghese, let me begin with you first. Obviously, lots of aspects to it. Lots of fallouts or importance can be attached to this particular order. How do you see it? What immediate things, in your view, changes with this verdict?
Well, two things come to the fore. One, we are having a very animated situation in the Parliament right now, especially with the opposition benches going for Manipur and other situations in the country. They're trying to bring out the debate on it. So the reinstatement fact, of course, is completely on the speaker's side. So he has to reinstate this thing. So will it be done within the period of the monsoon session is the big question that we have to see. Because if that is going to happen, that means Rahul Gandhi would be present for the monsoon debate, the last day debate when Manipur is going to be discussed. August 11th. So he'll be present for that debate. Or will that reinstatement happen after the monsoon session, which means he's going to miss the current session completely. So these are factors that are there in this, and probably I would also be looking at how Wayanad would be looking, because the first thing is that when the disqualification happened, Rahul Gandhi visited Wayanad, and there was a huge gathering of people in Wayanad. He went with Priyanka Gandhi, and the allies of the UDF, all of them came out in this thing with the supporting the Congress, and Rahul Gandhi had a huge rally there. Today, I think it's going to be celebratory time in Wayanad as of now. So that is one aspect, or some of the visuals we're just waiting for that to happen, and we're just planning to look at it. But immediately, the question is, when will he be reinstated? Will he be reinstated during the period of the monsoon session or after that? That is a question that we have to see, right?
All right, we'll have to wait and watch on that. Obviously, I'm sure there are procedures to it. and the kind of alacrity and immediacy was shown right after the Surat court verdict. Within hours, the verdict had come from the Lok Sabha Secretariat also of his suspension. So we can expect reply in the similar coin. Kabir, obviously, now looking at the days ahead, what happens next? That is something very crucial. As Varghese mentions, Parliament is in session. Manipur is the stand basically fixed. That is both the opposition and the ruling dispensation are fighting for. In your opinion, obviously, Rahul Gandhi's entry, does it make any difference vis-a-vis Manipur, because he has been there?
Oh, of course, 100%. You know what they say, right? That political perspectives don't really matter. By the end of it, it's the voting and the number, the mandate that matters. If, the polls that we're doing on our, live stream, if they are anything to go by, it says the first question we asked for, should Rahul Gandhi's Lok Sabha membership be reinstated immediately? 83% people say yes, 8% say no. The one that's active right now, those watching should definitely go out there and vote and say, are we looking at a Rahul Gandhi versus a PM Modi contest in 2024? I again personally think we're jumping the gun here, but again, 88% people say that yes, we're looking at something like that. Now, talking about Manipur in general, Rahul Gandhi visited Manipur ahead of the Prime Minister. People have been asking the Prime Minister to break his silence on Manipur for the longest time. And Rahul Gandhi went there. His social media game has gotten a little bit, more better. I've been perusing through comments on Twitter, on Instagram, on our, videos on YouTube and several other, media outlets' videos as well. And the comments are pretty much 50-50. Everywhere you see a fight that's happening between Rahul Gandhi. You've got the BJP supporters that take on the Congress supporters, and the Congress supporters take on the BJP supporters. More often than not, it becomes really crass, and the words that they use, definitely not for me to speak out here in the open. But several editorial pieces that I've been looking at, they talk about a complete image makeover of Rahul Gandhi. They talk about how he's gotten a little bit more confident. The day the conviction came out, Pankaj, you and I were sitting in the studio and we were having this conversation about what next for Rahul Gandhi. And even as we were trying to decode what next for Rahul Gandhi, we got that, he's been removed from the Parliament. Just a couple of days later, we saw that emotional video of Rahul Gandhi leaving his house. He's been trying to bank on every bit of these aspects. He's got a camera person with him. I don't know who's his team behind him, but it seems like they're doing their job spot on. From tweets to YouTube to those Twitters, मोहब्बत की दुकान खोल दी, नफरत को मोहब्बत ने हरा दिया. It's already out there. You don't even have to wait for it anymore. The bigger question is, what we're all asking right now is that final adjudication that the Supreme Court has observed, does that come into effect now? Because the conviction has been stayed, but that does not mean that he's not a convict. This particular conviction has been stayed. It might come across that, he might get some sort of other sentencing. It might be a little lesser than 2 years. He might still continue to be a member of parliament, but be, convicted in this particular case. And we've got an example in front of us. The member of parliament from Lakshadweep. He's still not been reinstated. It's been more than 6 months. So does he get to go inside the parliament ahead of no confidence vote? I mean, it's all, speculations, and really nice for all of us to talk here because this is our day-to-day activity. But out there in front of the people, especially Congress supporters, you're right, I was listening to you, that word that you used, it's a buoyant Congress today. लड्डू बट रहे हैं हर जगह, लेकिन एक बात याद रखिए साहब, दोनों हाथों में लड्डू ना बीजेपी को मिले ना कांग्रेस को, तो कुछ ना कुछ तो सैक्रिफाइस इधर उधर से देखना पड़ेगा. Well, I won't ask Varghese कि दोनों हाथ में लड्डू होना चाहिए कि नहीं, because he might not get this part of the.
I understood the laddu part of it.
The laddu part also. Varghese, I wanted to bring up the issue of sympathy. What Kabir mentions is true, that we are seeing the trend now of कि सच कभी हार नहीं हो सकती, and सूरज और चांद को दबाया नहीं जा सकता है. If at all this is a buoyant Congress, obviously for the time being, the longevity of it, do you believe that they have the capacity now? And when I say they, I mean Congress, not just Rahul Gandhi, but all the team. Do they have the capacity to ride it through till 2024?
Well, it looks like they do have the capacity, and probably I think the Congress had planned to use, if his disqualification was to in fact continue, to use it as a martyr badge. And when we have that martyr badge, because as I told you, the first thing that they did is they went to the constituency and they just gauged the mood that the people were actually coming out in large numbers. When we say that, I think it was Mr. Mukherjee who said that, he's wearing it like he's turned it into a virtue. So, of course, that narrative change has happened pretty much in this. So, when the narrative change happens in this, I think to a large extent, it is going to be a way of trying to put everything of his political journey as a hardship he's facing from the government. He's going to go to the people and say, see, I'm trying to represent you. This is the kind of persecution that I'm going to see in the coming days. So he has been trying to play that badge, or rather his PR team has been trying to play that badge. So, a lot of Congress workers today are jubilant about it, and probably they are celebrating that victimization factor which they've been claiming that he's been going through, and probably coming out of it. So, I'm just saying that in politics it's all perception. This is the same country that punished Indira Gandhi for the emergency and re-elected her immediately. So perception is very important.
Indira Gandhi was disqualified also.
No, absolutely, and it's the same family. I mean, take a look at some of the videos that are doing the rounds, okay? The viewership is astounding, and all of that is for common use. You can reuse any of that video. He's visiting the Azadpur Mandi. He's there speaking, going to Manipur. He's there speaking to mechanics in Karol Bagh. He's speaking to truck drivers out there. Nobody is saying that he likes to do this or this is everyday job. We know it's all being done for politics. We understand when the Prime Minister goes out and all the cameras are chasing him. It's all optics, it's all politics. It's all out there in the open, which is why we took the courage of asking this question way ahead of time, whether it's going to be a Modi versus Rahul Gandhi affair in 2024. That's the question that we're asking. But
how much of the optics will stick, Kabir? How much of the optics will stick for that?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You asked him a question about, do they have the longevity of carrying on with this? I'm of the opinion that they don't have another option. If at all there is a fight that they have to take to the BJP, because I've been saying it constantly that this is a BJP's game to lose, not the Congress's game to win. It's the BJP's game to lose. It's like a champion who's defending the title right now, and it's the the dark horse, the underdogs that gets most of the weightage from the fans. So sympathy factor is of course there. We just heard Aditya Thackeray, did we not? And Aditya Thackeray and the Thackeray's over there, the UBT faction, they're banking on sympathy. They're banking on this martyr tag that's been given to them, and it will reap benefits sooner or later. It will come about. How big of a bite is it in the back for the BJP later on? That is something that we'll have to wait and find out. And another thing is the final adjudication, which again I'm telling you that this conviction does not, it's just been stayed. 2 साल की सजा पे stay लगी है. ये 1 साल चंद दिन, 1 साल 2 साल से 1 दिन कम. It could also be that.
No, the question that was asked also, was it warranted for the maximum sentence to be given by the judge? So the court technically does not agree with the
aspect of maximum punishment. The trial court and the sessions court,
which is what led to the disqualification.
Clarification to it.
And the electorate of Wayanad. I appreciate the fact that the Supreme Court also disagreed with what Mr. Mukherjee just said, that the Supreme Court sides with the Congress. I mean, that's just not possible. I'm not going to go into the semantics of it. But Supreme Court siding with the Congress, that doesn't happen. On the other hand, how soon will he make his way back to the Parliament? That is, by the end, finally, the last question.
Right. And yes, obviously, all eyes will be on that. But yes, the ramifications, Kabir.
And Brijesh pointed out a real good thing that, in the Parliament, several times, when he would stand up with papers and saboot, and he's also tweeted out, the Congress party has tweeted out,
exactly the same picture, exactly
सवाल जारी रहेंगे, आप तैयार रहिए, सवाल लेकर आ रहे हैं हम.
Return of Rahul Gandhi.
Return of Rahul Gandhi, it's always there. So you would see some faces.
I think they've already started branding it. I think Kabir, I think they've already started branding it. The return of Rahul Gandhi is already being branded.
No, but I'm talking about how they are not as worried as they were before, because we were talking about how he'd go to Cambridge and he'd utter a word and somehow it just works, the clock works against him. Somehow he just lands up in some sort of controversy.
Well, again, that's a reverse optics that BJP does to it. And, since you mentioned optics and politics in the same breath, I was just doing some calculation and I was thinking in this scramble of optics and politics, only, L and I is missing. From optics. And if there was an E also, the lie would be missing from optics to make it politics. So we'll come back to that, but before that we will have to listen to some sound bites that have come in.
आज हम सबको बड़ा खुशी महसूस हो रहे हैं कि राहुल गांधी जी हमारे नेता, जिनके खिलाफ साजिश करते हुए सदस्यता पद खारिज किए गए थे, फिजूल मामला दर्ज करते हुए जिनके खिलाफ सदन में सदस्यता खारिज करने की हर संभव प्रयास किया गया था, आज हमारे देश की सर्वोच्च न्यायालय इस मुद्दे को संज्ञान लेते हुए राहुल गांधी जी को आज बड़ा राहत देने की फैसला की और इसी के चलते आज राहुल गांधी जी के खिलाफ जो बेबुनियाद तथ्यों पर साजिश किए गए थे वो आज विफल हो गए। और इसी दरमियान हम स्पीकर साहब से मिले, सदन के अंदर ये बात उठाई कि हमारे नेता राहुल जी को फिर दोबारा सदन में आने की इजाजत दिया जाए। उनकी सदस्यता पद खारिज करने की जो मुद्दा था उसको रिवोक करते हुए राहुल गांधी जी की सदस्यता पद पुनर्वार उनको सौंपा जाए, क्योंकि वो सदन में आए और अपने बात रखे। हम चाहते हैं कि सरकार के खिलाफ जो अविश्वास प्रस्ताव हम लाए हैं उसी में राहुल गांधी जी खुद शिरकत करें और हिंदुस्तान की आम लोग ये सुने कि कैसे किस तरीके से राहुल गांधी जी के खिलाफ आज सत्तारूढ़ पार्टी ने निष्ठुर तरीके से साजिश रच रही है। सारे दुनिया को ये उजागर होना चाहिए।
Pakistan is actually genociding Baloch people. So being Baloch is a crime. If you are a Baloch, it means in the eyes of Pakistan, you don't